Hi, this is Chiranjeev Rao, Physics Lecturer, APRJC, Tatipudi. In this video lesson, I am going to teach the speed of the travelling wave, speed of the longitudinal waves, and speed of the transverse waves in strings. See, the speed of the travelling wave is nothing but the distance covered by the wave per unit time in the direction of the wave propagation. This is what is called the speed of the travelling wave. Now you see, you consider a wave is travelling along x direction, positive x axis, and you imagine any point at a time t is equal to 0. This is the thick line curve represent the wave snapshot at time t equal to 0. At time t equal to 0, and this dotted line represents the snapshot of that wave at a time t is equal to t. By the time the point from thick line move to the point on dotted line. So in a time interval, small interval, time interval dt, it traveled a distance of dx. So the speed of the wave you can write down as v is equal to dx by dt. This is the speed of the traveling wave. Now let us consider a wave is propagating along positive x direction. Say this is the wave propagating along x direction when at a time t is equal to 0, and the dotted line travels along the x-axis, positive x-axis, and this point moved from this point to this point. So these 2 points are the same phase. For a fixed point on the wave form, the phase is constant. Phase is constant. So if you represent the equation for this waveform, y is equal to a sine kx minus omega t. In this equation, for any fixed point, this argument is constant. This argument. So kx minus omega t is constant. Since these 2 points are having same phase, they are fixed at same point, they are in same phase, so the displacement for both the particles is same, hence a is a fixed value. So in order to keep the y constant for these 2 points, the argument or the sine kx minus omega t should be constant. Therefore kx minus omega t should be constant. Now suppose if you differentiate this with respect to t, suppose if you differentiate this with respect to t, now let us differentiate this with respect to t, this equation. Differentiate with respect to t, time. Then we will get k into dx by dt minus omega is equal to 0. And now you can write down dx by dt is equal to omega by k. But we have already discussed that the rate of change of the distance is called velocity or speed. So this can be written as velocity or speed of the wave. So speed of the wave, traveling wave, can be written as omega by k. But we have already studied that omega is equal to 2 pi by t. So we know pretty well that omega is equal to 2 pi by t and k is equal to 2 pi by lambda. So if you substitute these two values in this equation, we will get V is equal to 2 pi by t by 2 pi by lambda. Then we will be getting lambda into 1 by t. Therefore, but 1 by t is frequency. Therefore, we can write down the velocity is also speed of the wave or velocity of the wave is equal to n lambda. This is the another equation for the traveling wave. So these are the two expressions or equations for the speed of traveling wave, omega by k and v is equal to n lambda. Now the next important concept is speed of longitudinal waves or sound waves in solids, liquids and gases. Now let us see when the longitudinal waves are traveling through solids, liquids, gases, what happens? If a longitudinal wave is propagating through solids, since the solids are tightly packed with the molecules or atoms, whereas liquids are less density than solids, gases very less density than solids, liquids and gases. So the densities are gradually decreasing from solids to liquids and liquids to gases. When the wave is propagating through the solids, and the propagation of the wave depends on two factors. One is its elastic nature or elastic property, and the second one is inertial property. That is why for solids the velocity in general for any medium, when the longitudinal wave or sound wave is propagating, we can write down the speed of the sound in a medium is equal to elastic property by inertial property. So this is the general form for any longitudinal which is passing through the medium. So if you consider the solids, they are more rigid and they are not compressible. Compressibility is very, very less. That is why in solids, the sound can travel faster than the sounds when they are going through liquids. And in gases, it is less when compared with solids and liquids. Therefore, velocity of sound in solids is greater than velocity of in liquid greater than velocity in gases. So this is the way in which the hierarchy follows. Velocity of sound or speed of sound is more in solids, speed of sound is very less in gases, and it is in between solids and gases, whereas in liquids. This is the hierarchy of the velocities in solids and liquids, gases. For solids, the elastic property can be considered as its Young's modulus. And inertial property can be considered as its density. So now we can write down speed of the sound in solids is equal to elastic property, that is Young's modulus, by inertial property expressed in terms of its density. Now let us go to the case of liquids and gases. In case of liquids and gases, speed of the sound can be written as under root the elastic property we have to consider in these two cases as bulk modulus of elasticity. So we have to write down bulk modulus by the density of the medium for both cases, because this is compressible to a smaller extent and this is very much compressible. Gases are very much compressible, whereas the outside the solid they cannot expand. The expansion is confined along the linear direction. That is why we have to consider the stress and strain are longitudinal, and they are longitudinal stress and longitudinal strain, and that is why we are using Young's modulus in case of solids. Young's modulus is equal to longitudinal stress by longitudinal strain. That is why we are using the equation for the velocity of sound in solids is equal to under root y by rho, where y is Young's modulus, rho is the density of the solid material. And now in case of liquids and gases, both are compressible to some extent. Liquid is compressible and it is not rigid, much rigid, and whereas gases, they are not at all rigid. It has a property of compressibility. That is why we can consider the elastic property as its bulk modulus. That is why speed of sound in liquids and gases can be represented as under root B by rho, where B is the elastic property of the liquids or gases and rho is the density of liquid or gas. This is the expression for the solids, liquids and gases. Now the bulk modulus can be written as B is equal to minus delta P, change in pressure, by delta V by V. This is the fractional change in its volume, and rho is mass by volume, that is the density of the medium. So when you come to the Young's modulus, it is longitudinal stress by longitudinal strain. And now we can check the correctness of this speed of sound using dimensional analysis. So now let us see in general, velocity or speed of sound is equal to under root E by rho. Now let us check the correctness of this equation using dimensional analysis. The dimensional formula for elasticity is under root E m power 1 L power minus 1 T power minus 2 by density m power 1 L power minus 3 mass per unit volume. Now what happened now? This comes under root, this is cancelled, so this become L square T power minus 2. So this can be written as L square T power minus 2 whole power half, that is equal to L power 1 T power of minus 1. So this is dimensionally equal to the speed. Hence, this equation is true, the speed of sound can be expressed in terms of the elastic property of the medium, that is the elastic property, and inertial property expressed in terms of its density, and dimensionally it is true. That is why this equation is correct for all the media, whether it is solid, liquid or gas. So for velocity of sound in gases, the first scientist Newton, who proposed the general equation, and that was found wrong and it was corrected by Laplace. So let us see how this is happened. See, according to Newton, the process of longitudinal waves in gas is isothermal. According to isothermal process, the Boyle's law can be written as PV is equal to number of moles into Boltzmann constant multiplied by the temperature in Kelvin scale is constant. If you differentiate this, we will get P dV plus V dP is equal to 0 and P dV is equal to minus V into dP. So P is equal to minus dP by dV by V. So this you can write as stress by strain. So previously we have studied that the speed of sound in any medium is E by rho. In this case, this E is replaced with pressure P and written as rho. So speed of sound according to Newton in a gas can be written as V is equal to under root P by rho. And with this equation, the velocity of sound observed is 280 meters per second, but practically the velocity of sound is at room temperature at STP, it is around 331 meters per second. That means from this formula, the value observed is 15% less than that of the experimental value, and this rectified by Laplace, who is the next scientist, and he considered that the sound waves or propagation of sound waves in gas is not isothermal, it is adiabatic process, and he introduced adiabatic index gamma. Instead of P, he used gamma P. That is why the speed of sound in gases is not under root P by rho, but it is gamma P by rho. Let us see how this value, this was corrected by Laplace. See, according to Newton's formula, we know the speed of sound in air or in gas is equal to under root P by rho. Velocity of sound at STP, V is equal to, instead of P, we can write down H rho Z. See, P is equal to H rho G. What is H? H is the height of the mercury column, and rho is the density of the mercury. G is the acceleration due to gravity. So if you write down here H 0.76 meters, and this is the density of the mercury 13,600 kilogram per meter cube, and 9.8, this is the meter per second square, is the acceleration due to gravity by the density of the air 1.293 kilogram per meter cube. If you substitute all these values, you will be getting 280 meters per second. But just you observe, this value is nearly 16% less than the experimental value, that is 332 meters per second. And this is the error observed between the theoretical value and the practical value, and this error was not explained by Newton, and hence say this was not explained by Newton, and this error explained by Laplace. He considered that the propagation of longitudinal waves or sound waves in the medium is not isothermal, but it is adiabatic. Let us see how he explained. See, according to Laplace, the process of sound propagation in gases is not isothermal, but it is adiabatic. In the adiabatic process, we have to consider gamma, where gamma is the ratio of the specific heats. Gamma is equal to Cp by Cv, specific heat at constant pressure and specific heat at constant volume. This is what is called adiabatic index. So Pv power gamma is constant in this case. And if you differentiate this, P into gamma V, gamma power gamma minus 1 into dV plus V power gamma into dP is equal to 0. So if you simplify this, we will get gamma P is equal to minus dP by dV by V. This is what is called adiabatic elasticity. So if you substitute this value in the general equation, V is equal to under root E by rho. This E is to be considered as adiabatic elasticity of the gas. So we can write down V is equal to speed of sound in gas according to Laplace under root gamma P by rho. So that is why this equation is called as Newton-Laplace formula. This is the equation contributed by both the scientists, and we just call it as Newton's Laplace formula for the speed of sound in gases. And according to this, let us see what will be the theoretical value of sound compared with the practical value of the sound. See, according to Newton's Laplace formula, V is equal to under root gamma P by rho, and under root gamma into root P by rho. But gamma is the adiabatic index or ratio of the two specific heats of the air. That gamma is equal to Cp by Cv for air is equal to 7 by 5. This is equal to 1.4. So if you substitute this value 1.4 in this equation, now the root P by rho is already obtained 280 according to Newton's formula, and if you multiply this with under root 1.4, you will get the value 331.3 meters per second. Now this experimental value, this theoretical value almost all coincide with the experimental value, hence this was found correct. Now let us see the different factors which affect the velocity of sound in gases. See, temperature, pressure, density, humidity. These are the different factors which affect the speed of sound in gases. Let us discuss one by one. See the different factors which affect the speed of sound or velocity of sound in gases. See, effect of pressure. If pressure is increased, density will also increase. So according to Boyle's law, P by rho is constant. So if you increase the pressure, we know the speed of sound is under root P by rho. If you increase pressure, rho will also increase. So P by rho is always constant. So even you increase the pressure, there is no change in the speed of sound. So increasing the pressure, decreasing the pressure will not affect the speed of sound in air. And next, Another important factor is effect of temperature. See, the speed is directly proportional to the square root of the absolute temperature or the temperature in Kelvin scale. See, according to ideal gas, we know PV is equal to RT for 1 mole of gas. So P is equal to RT by V. We can write down this in terms of the density and molecular mass, that is equal to RT rho by M. So the speed of sound according to Newton's Laplace formula, we can write down gamma RT rho by rho M. And finally we'll get gamma RT by M. So this is the formula. And in this equation, gamma Rm are constant for a given medium. Therefore, the speed of sound in gases is directly proportional to square root of the absolute temperature of the gas. And the next important is effect of density. You know, it is inversely proportional. See, the speed of sound is inversely proportional to the square root of the density of the medium. Here V is proportional to 1 by under root rho, or we can also observe from this formula the speed of sound is inversely proportional to the square root of the molecular mass. So if the density is less, speed is more. If the density is more, speed is less. Similarly, if the molecular mass is more, speed of the sound is less. If the molecular mass is more and the less, then the speed of sound is more. So now let us see the another effect, humidity. The humidity means the moist air. The moist air, in moist air, the density is less than dry air. That is why in the speed of sound more in moist air than dry air. These are the factors which affect the speed of sound or velocity of sound in gases. Now let us see the speed of transverse waves in a strings or in a stretched strings. Let us derive the expression for the speed of transverse waves in a strings. Now let us consider a string fixed at one end and passed over a pulley and suspended with some weight. And now the weight is acting in this direction and the tension created in the wire. So if you pluck this wire, it continues to vibrate and produce transverse waves, and it will be reflected back, and the transverse waves are propagating in this string, and the speed of the transverse wave in this string, stretched string, can be written as V is equal to under root T by M, where T is the tension in the string, the tension applied by applying mass. If you increase more mass, you apply more mass here, the tension will be more. So the speed of the transverse wave in a string depends on T. This is again elastic property. This is again elastic property. And mu is the linear mass density or linear mass density. That is equal to, mu is equal to total mass of the string by total length. So we can find the mass per unit length. That is the linear mass density. So this is the inertial property. Again, the speed of the transverse waves in a string is equal to the elastic property by the inertial property. And dimensionally we can check the correctness of this speed of the transverse wave. See, if you apply the dimension analysis for tension, the dimension formula is, for tension, the dimension formula is m power 1 L power 1 t power of minus 2. For linear mass is equal to mass by length. So m power 1 by L power 1, that is equal to m power 1 L power of minus 1. Now if you substitute these two values in this equation, the speed is equal to under root m power 1 L power 1 t power minus 2 whole by this one m power 1 L power of minus 1. Now you will be getting under root L square t power of minus 2. So this is equal to L power 1 t power minus 1. So this is the dimensional formula of the velocity speed. So again this equation is also checked in terms of by using dimensional analysis. This is how we can express the speed of transverse wave in terms of the tension of the string and its linear mass density. These are all the different types of velocities in the transverse waves, longitudinal waves, sound waves, and traveling waves. Next important concept is the Doppler effect. This one. Of course, this is a part of deleted syllabus for intermediate public examination this year due to COVID-19. For as far as intermediate public examination, you need not go through Doppler effect, but for the aspirants of NEET and IIT, it is very useful. That is why I just give you the synopsis of this particular part. So actually, what is Doppler effect? See, the apparent change in the frequency of sound due to relative motion between the observer and the source of sound is called Doppler effect. That means if there is a source and the observer, for example, a person on this railway station platform and the train is approaching him, he listens more number of frequency and he listens the sound with increased pitch. And if the train is leaving the platform, he listens the sound of that train with decreasing pitch. So this is what is called the apparent change in the pitch observed by the listener due to relative motion between the observer and the source. Source here is a train, it is blowing horn. The horn pitch of the sound frequency is always constant, whether it is reaching the observer or leaving the observer, the frequency of sound never change. Because of that it is approaching, then he feels that the frequency appeared to be more. As the train is leaving the observer, he feels that the frequency appeared decreasing. This is what is called apparent change in the frequency due to relative motion between the source and the observer is called Doppler effect. So you see the apparent change in the frequency of sound due to relative motion between the observer and the source of sound is called Doppler effect. And next, Doppler shift. It is the difference between the real frequency produced by the source and the apparent frequency observed by the listener. This is what is called Doppler shift. Now let us observe the formula for the apparent frequency in different cases. Now you observe the different cases. The source is in motion. The source is car or some train blowing horn which is in motion. the observer or listener who is at rest, and the source is moving towards the stationary listener observer. In the second case, the source is moving away from the observer, stationary observer. The observer is always at rest in both cases. But in one case, the source is moving, approaching the observer, and the source is moving away from the observer. So, what happened? See, first, if the source and the observer are at rest, then the horn blowing will move with a velocity v, and the number of the frequency reached by the observer is n, and the wavelength of this wave is lambda. But the source is moving towards the observer. So if the source moved from s to s dash this way, with the source velocity is vs, this is the velocity of the source, it is moving with vs, then what happened? The waves are compressed. The observer will hear more number of waves, hence the wavelength is appear to be decreased. The wavelength appear to be decreased. So this part, this is a very less part here, and here it is more. So this is lambda, this is lambda dash. So this is more and this is less as it is moving towards the observer. So what is the apparent wavelength? V minus Vs by n. If Vs is 0, that means source has rest, he listen only V by n. So V by n is nothing but, according to formula, V is equal to n lambda. Then lambda is equal to V by n. So if Vs is 0, you will get V by n, and V by n is nothing but lambda. That means there is no change in its wavelength. So wavelength changes only when the source is moving either towards the observer or away from the observer. So to what extent the wavelength changed? Lambda dash. So this wavelength changed to this one. To what extent is changed? V minus Vs by n. If Vs is more, lambda dash will be less, so decreased. So what is the apparent frequency? As you know, n is equal to V by lambda, but in this case n dash equal to V by lambda dash. So finally n dash is equal to, apparent frequency is equal to V by V minus Vs by n. Suppose in this case, if Vs is 0, if in this case Vs is 0, then what happened? V cancelled, n dash become n. So n dash become n means there is no change in the frequency observed by the listener. That means the source and the observer both are at the same position. So this is what is called the apparent frequency heard by the observer in case of the source is moving towards the stationary observer. Stationary observer means he is at rest, his velocity is 0. This is one case. And we observe another case. The source is moving away from the stationary observer. So the source is moving away. The gap is increasing. Here the gap is decreasing. Here the wavelength is enlarged. Here the wavelength is compressed. That is why the apparent wavelength in this case is V plus V naught by n. V plus V naught by n. What is this V naught? V naught, not V naught. Vs. V plus Vs by n. V plus Vs, because V naught is 0. In all the cases, observer is at rest. So lambda dash equal to V plus Vs by n. Now what happened? If Vs is 0, again lambda dash become lambda. So apparent frequency in this case is V by n into V by V plus Vs. So if this value is increased, n dash decreased. Here the denominator, the value is decreased and hence n dash is increased in both cases. So this is the formula for the apparent frequency in two different cases. If the observer is at rest, source is moving towards the stationary observer, n into V by V minus Vs. And another formula, if the source is moving away from the stationary observer, n into V by V plus Vs. So in this case, the source is moving towards the stationary observer. I write here stationary observer. And this case, the source is moving with velocity Vs away from the observer. I write here observer. V0 is equal to 0. This V0 indicates the stationary observer. The source in one case moving towards, distance is decreasing, wavelength is decreasing, and frequency increases. In the second case, same both cases, observer is at rest, but he is moving away from the observer. So the distance increased, wavelength increased, frequency decreased. So this is the expression for the apparent frequency in case source is in motion, observer is at rest. Next case, observer is in motion, source is at rest. Let us see what happened. Now you observe in this case, observer is in motion and the source is at rest. Observer is moving towards the stationary source. Observer is moving away from the stationary source. So in this case, what happened? The listener, when approaching the source, he receives more number of waves. This more number of waves is equal to the actual waves frequency plus V0 by lambda. This is the actual frequency. V by lambda is n. Here V by lambda, n is equal to V by lambda. When both are at rest, he receives the frequency V by lambda. Plus, in addition to that, as the observer is moving toward this source, he receives V0 by lambda more frequency. So the total apparent frequency he heard is n into V plus V0 by V. Since lambda is equal to V by n, you substitute here lambda instead of lambda. We will get n into V plus V0 by V. Suppose if V0 becomes 0, that means it is at rest. Then this V0 becomes 0. Then VV cancelled. So n dash become n. The same, which is the case as both the source and observer are at rest. Whatever the frequency listen, that will be same even the apparent frequency. So this is the case. Now let us go to the another case. The observer is moving away from the source. So the wavelength stretched, number of frequency decreased. So apparent frequency n dash equal to the actual frequency in this case. For the actual frequency here, it is n is equal to V by lambda. That is the actual frequency minus V naught by lambda. So after simplification you will get n into V minus V naught by V. This is V naught by V. So this is the apparent frequency in case of the observer is moving away from the stationary source. So these are the two equations in case of the source at rest and of the observer is in motion. So so far we have discussed about, in one case observer made rest, source is set in motion. In the second case, observer set in motion and source set in at rest. In the third case, let us see what happens if both the source and the observer are in motion. So the third condition is if the source and the observer both are in motion, both are moving towards each other, both are moving away from each other, both are moving towards each other, and both are moving away from each other. What happened? Let us see the third form. If both the source and observer are in motion, say the source is moving left to right and the observer is moving from right to left, so these are approaching, then the apparent frequency is equal to n into V plus V naught by V minus Vs. And now if the observer and the source are moving away from the each other, n dash equal to n into V minus V naught by V plus Vs. There is one more condition. If the sound is propagating in the medium, suppose in the air, if the air is also moving, blowing with certain velocity W, if sound and the air are moving in the same direction, you have to take the velocity of sound added with velocity of wind, V plus W. If velocity of wind and velocity of sound are in opposite direction, you have to subtract the velocity of wind from velocity of sound. You substitute here. If the velocity of the medium is also be taken into consideration, that is what you have to follow. This is all regarding the Doppler effect. This formula is very important in solving the problems. See, if the velocity of the medium is taken into consideration, velocity of the air is W. If the velocity of sound is V, is in the direction of the velocity of wind, then V is to be taken as V plus W, sum of the two. See, the air sound is moving this way and air is also moving in the same way, then the net velocity you have to take into consideration as V plus W. If in the second case, in the opposite direction, if the velocity of sound is moving in this way and the wind is moving in this way, then you have to take the velocity, instead of V you have to take V minus W. This is one case and this is another case. For intermediate public examinations, these are the most important questions, 4 questions, and there will be 2 questions which are not included in for this year due to COVID-19. The 2 questions related to Doppler effect was deleted under the 30% syllabus, deleted syllabus. So just you prepare these 4 long answer questions. The first one is, explain the formation of stationary waves in stretched strings and hence deduce the laws of transverse waves in stretched string. The second one, explain the formation of stationary waves in an air column enclosed in open pipe. Derive the equation for the frequency of the harmonics produced. And the third one, how are the stationary waves formed in a closed pipe? Explain the various modes of variations in closed pipe and establish the relation between their frequencies. And the fourth question, what are beats? Obtain an expression for the beat frequency. Where and how are beats made use of? These are the four questions, and you need not prepare for IPE regarding Doppler effect. Okay.